He leaned against the frame, shirtless, wearing my sweatpants. Yeah, the gray ones she always used to steal from the dryer and say they smell like you. His smug eyes scanned me up and down like I didn't belong there anymore. Then, with this calm, cocky tone, he said the sentence that would make my blood pressure spike so hard I thought my vision blurred. They're happier now. Even your daughter said I'm better for her. Time paused. You ever had one of those moments when your body moves before your brain? I stepped forward. No words, no hesitation. I didn't care if he was taller, younger, or built like a gym ad. I just looked him in the eye and said, "Has anyone told you that lies come with consequences?" His smirk evaporated. He didn't even blink before my fist crashed into his cheekbone and threw him into the drywall. I swear I felt the house tremble when he hit it. Silence followed. Thick, electric. I expected shouting, footsteps, her voice screaming my name. But all I heard was a giggle. Not a nervous one. Not a guilty one. A giggle, her giggle from upstairs. "Logan, you okay, baby? Baby?" I walked inside. He was still gasping, crumpled by the baseboard, holding his jaw. He looked up at me with wet, furious eyes like I was the one out of line for punching the bastard who stole my life. I climbed the stairs slow, heavy, every step echoing years of loyalty, of moments, of the bullshit asterisk tea she sold me about love and partnership and honesty. The bedroom door was wide open, of course. And there she was, Courtney, wearing his hoodie, legs curled under her like a teenage girl at a slumber party, sipping wine from our anniversary glasses. "Wow," she muttered, barely glancing up. "You just broke his jaw, didn't you?" That was it. No panic. No guilt. Not even surprise. I stood there, dumbfounded, heart pounding in my ears like it was trying to drown her out. She looked up at me and said, "You should have called first. Logan lives here now. Logan lives here." She said it like she was discussing a new roommate, not the man she was dragging behind my back while we were raising a daughter, paying off a mortgage, building a damn life together. Like my world wasn't actively being shattered by every syllable she let slip from those cherry-glossed lips. "Where's Lily?" I asked. "School," she shrugged. "She knows. She's fine. She knows." I nearly stumbled backward. "You told our daughter?" Courtney stood now, walking toward me slowly like a predator that already caught its prey. "Of course. She deserves to know her mom's happy. And guess what? Lily thinks Logan's way more fun than you ever were." I felt that like a blade between my ribs. Not because it was true, but because I knew she'd manipulated her. Just like she manipulated everyone. This woman, this stranger in front of me, was not the Courtney I married at 26. The one who cried during wedding vows. The one who clutched my hand during Lily's first steps. The one who, apparently, started screwing Logan while telling me she was working late or too tired. I should have seen it. The perfume I didn't buy. The locked phone. The new gym membership when she said she wanted to feel strong again. Turns out, she just wanted to be strong enough to leave me for him. "Why Courtney?" I asked quietly. "Why him?" She laughed, really laughed this time. "You were always so boring, Jason. Safe. Predictable. You'd rather watch football than take me out. Logan? He's alive. He makes me feel like I'm 21 again." I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded. "Cool," I whispered. Then I turned, walked out of the room, and slammed the door behind me, not gently. Downstairs, Logan was gone. The front door still hung open. The drywall still cracked where his body hit. I stood in the living room that used to be mine. The one I painted after Lily was born. The one with the couch I bought for our anniversary. The one where we made love on Christmas Eve and promised we'd be forever. Now it smelled like his cologne. Like betrayal. Like ashes of the life I once called home. You don't just wake up one day and find your life in ruins. No, the cracks start slow. Invisible. You brush them off like a chip in your windshield. Harmless, until it shatters in your face at 80 miles per hour. Looking back, Courtney's betrayal didn't start with Logan. It started long before, little lies, odd moments, glances she thought I didn't notice. The first time I felt it? Last October. I remember the exact moment because I brought home pumpkin lattes, hers with oat milk, no whip, just the way she liked it. She stared at it like I'd handed her garbage and muttered, "Did you not get the one from Main Street? That place tastes like dishwater." Main Street was her favorite. Always had been. It was weird, but I brushed it off. She was probably just tired. Work was stressful. I gave her grace. Like an idiot. Then there were the late meetings. At first, I supported her. "Marketing campaigns don't build themselves," she said. "You want a successful wife. right? Of course I did. I'd built my life around being her support system, her rock. But rocks don't bleed. And I was bleeding. Silently. There was this one night in December, cold, snow everywhere. Lily was sick, had a fever, and Courtney promised she'd be home early. I made soup, wrapped Lily in blankets, even set up her favorite cartoons. Courtney showed up at 11:38 p.m. No call, no text, no apology. Just walked in smelling like peppermint vodka and some guy's cologne. I said nothing. Just watched her stumble past us on the couch and disappear into the bedroom. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. "You okay?" I asked. She laughed. "Why wouldn't I be? You're so dramatic sometimes, Jason." That line. That damn line. She'd say it every time I raised a question. Every time I looked at her phone and saw some random coworker texting hearts at 2 a.m. Dramatic. Like caring was a flaw. Like noticing things made me weak. Then came the passwords. She used to leave her phone face up. Suddenly, it was always face down. Lock screen. Notifications off. And when I asked why, she smiled and kissed my cheek. Privacy isn't the same as secrets, babe. I wanted to believe her. God help me. I wanted to believe her. I had no proof. Just vibes. Gut feelings. And you know what they say, gut feelings are God's whispers. One afternoon, I came home early. Surprise half day from work. I planned to cook dinner, light a candle, maybe try and fix whatever wall had grown between us. The house was quiet. No music. No TV. Just faint noises upstairs. At first, I thought she was on a Zoom call. But then, I heard it. A man's voice. Deep. Confident. Too close. And hers. That fake little laugh she used when she wanted to feel desired. I froze halfway up the stairs. Every instinct told me to kick the door open and catch them in the act. But I didn't. I waited. I listened. And when the laughter died down, I walked out. No confrontation. No accusations. I needed more. Not just for me, for Lily. For the truth. So I waited. I watched. Like a detective in his own home. She started going out with the girls more. Except the girls stopped tagging her. Her location would vanish on Find My iPhone. Her receipts showed luxury restaurants 2 towns over. One night, while she was at book club, I called Jenny, her best friend since high school. Jenny answered mid-bite of what sounded like spaghetti. "Book club," she said. "Courtney stopped coming weeks ago." "Why?" I hung up before she could ask more. That was the moment. The instant I knew, she was faking an entire life behind my back. A whole second identity, carefully curated and presented to the world like she was still the perfect wife, the ideal mom, the loving partner. But behind the scenes, Courtney was building an escape plan. And I was just collateral damage. It was a Thursday night when I finally broke. Not a dramatic movie scene kind of break. No shouting at the rain or punching a mirror. It was quieter than that. Colder. Like something inside me had just shut off. Courtney was staying late at work, again. 3rd time that week. The first time, I stayed up. The second, I texted twice, no reply. The third, I sat in silence, staring at our wedding photo above the fireplace. She was still smiling in that picture. So was I. My arm around her waist, her cheek pressed to mine. 2 people with no idea what the future was planning behind their backs. Lily was at a sleepover. The house was too quiet. So I did something I'd been afraid to do for weeks. I opened her laptop. She'd left it charging on the kitchen counter. Unlocked. Courtney wasn't sloppy, she was confident. Arrogant. She never thought I'd dare invade her little world. Maybe she thought I still believed her lies. Maybe she didn't care anymore. It took me less than 5 minutes to find the folder. It was called JNL Project. That's what she named her affair. A project. Inside were pictures, hundreds of them. Her and Logan. At bars. On the beach. In hotel rooms. Some of them in places we had once visited as a family. One shot in particular made my hands shake. Logan sitting at the exact table in Venice where I had proposed to her on our honeymoon. She took him there. She gave him our moments. Then I found the emails. She called him my real partner. Said things like, "Jason doesn't see me anymore. He just goes through the motions. You bring me back to life." Every message was another nail in the coffin. But one email ended everything. She wrote, "I'm going to tell him next week. I want you moved in by the weekend. Lily already likes you more than him anyway. Jason's too passive. He won't fight back." She was planning my replacement like she was scheduling a dentist appointment. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just closed the laptop, sat down, and stared at the door, waiting. She came in around 12:40 a.m., humming, drunk on whatever fantasy she was living. "Oh hey," she smiled, dropping her purse. "Didn't think you'd be up." "I saw the emails," I said calmly. She froze. "What emails?" "Logan. The photos. The plans to move him in." "You called me passive, Courtney." "That's cute." For a moment, there was fear in her eyes. But only for a moment. Then she laughed. Laughed. "You went through my stuff?" she snapped. "Wow, Jason. I didn't think you were that pathetic." "Don't do that," I warned. "Don't try to flip this on me." "You know what your problem is?" she hissed, stepping closer. "You want credit for being the good guy. But being boring isn't a virtue." "Logan? He sees me. He makes me feel alive." I stared at her like I was seeing her for the first time. "You know what I see?" I said quietly. "A coward in designer heels. A mother who traded her daughter's respect for cheap thrills." That hit her. Briefly. Then she picked up her purse, turned, and walked to the stairs. "I'll pack your things tomorrow," she muttered. "You should probably stay somewhere else." I stood there for a long time after she went upstairs. Eventually, I grabbed a duffel, threw in a few shirts, and walked out the door. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew one thing. She wasn't my wife anymore. I spent that first night at a cheap motel 3 miles from the house I used to call home. The room smelled like bleach and sadness, the kind of place people go when they've run out of options. I sat on the edge of the bed, still in yesterday's clothes, staring at the muted TV showing a cooking show I couldn't care less about. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Courtney and Logan, laughing, touching, whispering the same lies she once whispered to me. The images didn't stop. They looked like a cruel film reel I hadn't asked to star in. By 6 a.m., I drove to a diner we used to go to every Sunday. The waitress, Donna, recognized me instantly. "Where's your girl and little Lily?" she asked with a smile. I wanted to lie. Say they were sleeping in. Say they were fine. But I just muttered, "They're not coming," and asked for black coffee. I stayed in that booth for over an hour, pretending to read emails, scrolling through news, trying to feel normal. But there was no going back. My marriage was a crime scene now, and I was standing in the wreckage. By noon, I found myself parked in front of Lily's school. I just needed to see her. Needed something real. Something good. She came out with her little backpack bouncing on her shoulders, waving to her friends. She looked so much like Courtney when she smiled, back when Courtney was still human. I waited until she noticed me, then rolled down the window. "Daddy," she shouted, running over. "What are you doing here?" I smiled, but I felt like I was going to cry. "Wanted to surprise you." She jumped into the passenger seat and started talking about art class and how she got picked to lead the class line. She didn't ask about the suitcase in the back. She didn't ask why I wasn't home last night. Kids sense more than we think, but sometimes they play dumb to protect themselves. We went for ice cream. She got bubblegum flavor. I didn't eat mine. Then, halfway through her cone, she looked at me and asked, "Are you and Mommy getting divorced?" I froze. "Why would you ask that?" She shrugged. "She and Logan talk about it a lot." The name hit me like a brick. "You hear them?" I asked, trying not to let my voice shake. "Sometimes, when they think I'm asleep." I looked away. I wanted to scream, to punch the dashboard, to drive back to that house and drag Logan out by the throat. But instead, I nodded and said, "Your mom and I are figuring things out, okay? But no matter what, I'm always here for you. Always." She looked at me for a moment, then nodded. "I like when it's just you and me," she said, licking her cone. That nearly broke me in half. That night, I went back to the house to get more of my things. I didn't knock. I still had keys. When I walked in, Logan was watching TV in my chair. My goddamn recliner. His bare feet on the coffee table. He looked at me like I was the intruder. I didn't say anything. Courtney appeared in the hallway in one of my shirts, holding a wine glass. "Really?" she said. "You just let yourself in now?" "It's still my house," I muttered. "Not for long," Logan said without looking away from the screen. I walked straight past them. Packed everything I could carry. Photos, shirts, my guitar. Anything that still felt like mine. On my way out, I turned to look at her. She didn't flinch. Didn't say a word. And that silence? That cold, soulless indifference? It hurt more than any betrayal ever could. The thing they don't tell you about heartbreak is that the silence afterward is deafening. Not just the kind you hear when you're alone, but the kind that moves into your bones. It wakes you up in the middle of the night, whispering her name, reminding you of things you never wanted to forget. It was day 3 after I left. I moved into my buddy Eric's spare room, tiny, cluttered, and shared with his gym equipment. But at least it didn't reek of betrayal. At least no one was walking around in my clothes, sipping wine out of my glasses, lying to my daughter through their teeth. I spent that morning staring at an email Courtney had sent me. The subject line was, "Let's keep this civil." She was always good at framing things to make herself the victim. In the email, she wrote that she hoped we could communicate like adults, that she understood my pain, but didn't want drama. She even had the audacity to say Logan was trying hard to be respectful. I stared at the screen for 5 minutes before laughing so hard I nearly knocked over my coffee. Respectful? The guy moved into my house while my toothbrush was still in the bathroom. He answered my front door like he paid the mortgage. He told me my daughter liked him more while standing in his boxers on my porch. Respectful? I replied with one sentence. Every lie has a consequence. Sooner or later, yours will knock. Eric came into the kitchen and raised an eyebrow. You're scaring me with how quiet you are. Just reading love letters from my soon-to-be ex-wife, I said, deadpan. He gave me that look only real friends can give, the one that says I'm here, but I also know you're about to spiral. You talked to Lily today? He asked. Yeah, I said. She told me Logan made her pancakes. Called him Chef Boyardee. Christ. I clenched my jaw. She's being nice. She's a kid. She doesn't understand. But one day, I paused. One day, she'll look back and realize her mom traded a family for a temporary thrill. Eric was quiet for a moment, then said something I didn't expect. Maybe. Or maybe she'll just remember who showed up. That hit me. Hard. Because he was right. At the end of all this, the truth wouldn't be measured in fights or emails or courtroom wins. It would be measured in memories. Who showed up when she was sick? Who answered the phone at midnight? Who taught her to ride a bike? Helped her with math? Who made her feel safe? That was me. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't flashy. But I was there. And Courtney. She was off pretending she was 22 again, chasing validation in the arms of some smug wannabe fitness guru who probably called himself an entrepreneur because he had 5K Instagram followers and a protein brand. That night, I couldn't sleep again. So I got in the car and drove. Not anywhere in particular, just far enough to stop thinking. I ended up outside our old high school. The place where I met Courtney, where she passed me a note in chemistry class that said, "If you help me pass this test, I'll name our first dog after you." We never had a dog, just a marriage she promised would outlast anything. And here I was, parked in front of a memory that now felt like someone else's life. I looked up at the sky and whispered, "I hate you, Courtney. I really do." But the part that hurt the most, I didn't mean it. Not yet. A week passed. A week without her. A week without my house, my bed, my family. I started to hate Saturdays. They used to mean pancakes, cartoons, a walk through the park with Lily on my shoulders. But now, they were just another reminder that I'd been replaced. Replaced in my own life. Like some extra in a movie I thought I was starring in. I picked Lily up for the weekend. She ran to me with her little backpack and that big smile that never failed to melt me. But I noticed something different this time. Her eyes didn't light up the way they used to. There was something guarded. "Everything okay?" I asked as she buckled in. She nodded. "Yeah, liar. Just like her mom." But I didn't push. We went to the zoo, just like we used to. She laughed when a monkey threw a banana peel at a tourist, and for a moment, everything felt normal again. But kids are like little mirrors. They reflect everything you don't want to admit. After lunch, as we sat under a tree near the flamingo pond, she finally spoke. "Daddy," she said, her voice quiet. "Can I tell you something?" "Always." She looked down at her shoes. "Logan was in your bed." The words hit me like a slap. Not because I didn't know. I knew. But hearing it from her, from my daughter, turned pain into fire. "He said it's his now. And Mommy told him not to let me eat in there anymore." I stared at her, my jaw clenched so tight I thought I'd crack a molar. "And how did that make you feel?" She shrugged. "Weird. He sits on the couch with Mommy and touches her like you used to. I don't like it. He smells like too much lotion." I almost laughed at that. Almost. But the anger boiling in my chest was too much. "She said you left," Lily whispered. "She said you didn't want to be there anymore." I felt my whole world tilt sideways. "She said I left?" I repeated, barely containing the rage. Lily nodded slowly. I looked away, blinking back the sting in my eyes. That's when I realized what Courtney was doing. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was rewriting the story for our daughter. She was making me the villain, the deserter, the father who gave up. I took a breath. Then I crouched in front of Lily and held her little hands in mine. Listen to me, sweetheart. I didn't leave you. I never would. I love you more than anything in the world. What Mommy said, it isn't true. Her lip quivered. I know. That broke me. We sat like that for a while, saying nothing. Just holding on. Like two people trying not to drown in someone else's lies. Later that evening, after I dropped her off, I stayed in the car across the street. I watched Courtney open the door. Logan appeared behind her. He kissed her neck as she waved to Lily's retreating figure. And then I saw it, the way Courtney looked over her shoulder, right at my car. Like she knew I was there. Like she wanted me to see this perfect little image of her new life. She smirked. That was the moment. That was when love died. No more hesitation. No more second chances. This was war. There's a quiet kind of rage that builds when someone destroys you and dares to smile while doing it. It doesn't explode like in the movies. It simmers, slow and steady, like water waiting to boil. And once it does, nothing stays the same. After Lily told me what Courtney said, that I left, something snapped. The betrayal was one thing, but turning my daughter against me? That was unforgivable. I started documenting everything. Every lie, every inconsistency, every time Lily came back with a story that didn't match what Courtney was feeding me through forced, polite text messages. I got a lawyer the next day. You're not the first man to sit in that chair with this story, the lawyer said, flipping open a yellow legal pad. But you could be the first one to play it smart and win. I wasn't interested in revenge through fists anymore. I wanted it legal. I wanted it permanent. I wanted custody. I filed for full custody of Lily. Grounds, emotional manipulation, unstable household, and exposure to an unvetted partner, Logan, the walking cologne bottle. But I wasn't done yet. I'd always been the passive one. The nice guy. The one who avoided conflict for the sake of peace. Not anymore. I started pulling records. Courtney had left digital footprints like a fool. Hotel bookings during work retreats. Bank charges on our shared account for restaurants 2 cities over. I even found a receipt for a necklace she bought Logan, ironically engraved with "To New Beginnings." I made a folder. Color-coded. Labeled. Printed. And then I made my move. I arranged a meeting. At our old favorite cafe. Neutral territory. She walked in 15 minutes late, wearing sunglasses like she was famous. Logan sat in the car outside, probably thinking he looked mysterious. I ignored him. Jason, she said flatly, sitting across from me. What's this about? I slid the folder across the table. She didn't touch it. What is this? Proof, I said, of your lies. Your theft. Your parenting failures. All neat and ready to hand to a judge. She blinked. And for the first time since this nightmare started, she looked scared. You wouldn't, she said. I already did, I replied. She opened the folder. Her hand trembled slightly. Each page made her mouth tighten more. When she got to the text transcripts, screenshots of her telling Logan she wanted me out of the picture for good, she shoved the folder shut. This is low, she said, her voice sharp. You think this is going to make you the better parent? No, I said, leaning in. Being the better parent already makes me the better parent. This just proves it on paper. She looked away, toward the window, where Logan sat watching with that smug expression he wore like cheap jewelry. You wanted to ruin me, Courtney. But all you did was set me free. I stood up. She didn't stop me. And as I walked past Logan's car, I turned, looked him dead in the eye, and smiled. That smile was mine now. Not out of joy, but power. The power of a man who had nothing left to lose, and nothing left to fear. Courtney thought I'd crumble. Instead, I was rising, and her empire of lies was about to burn. Courtney always believed she was 10 steps ahead, that she could orchestrate everything like some twisted symphony where she played all the instruments. But the thing about playing God is, you forget even gods can bleed when they get sloppy. And she got sloppy. The court date came faster than she expected. Probably because in her mind, I was still passive Jason. Still the guy who'd rather avoid conflict than drag her into the mud she'd been rolling around in for months. But this time, I came to war with facts, witnesses, and a folder that looked more like an indictment than a custody request. When we walked into that courtroom, she wore white. White. I almost laughed. Logan came too. Sat in the back like some protective boyfriend, probably hoping I'd lose it and throw a chair or something, anything to make me look unstable. But I didn't even look at him. Because this wasn't about him anymore. This was about Lily. About giving my daughter a home that didn't stink of manipulation and midnight moans through thin walls. A home where she wouldn't have to pretend everything was fine while her mother acted like a hormonal teenager with a gym pass and a divorce fantasy. My lawyer was a beast. Clean, calm, surgical. She laid everything out like a puzzle, each piece more damning than the last. Text messages. GPS records. Statements from Lily's teachers about behavioral changes. Even Jenny, Courtney's ex-best friend, testified that Logan had been around before Courtney ever told me anything. The judge listened. Quiet, stoic, unreadable. Then Courtney took the stand. And just like I knew she would, she broke. Not all at once. Not with tears. But with arrogance. I didn't tell Jason because I didn't want to hurt him, she said, chin high, voice trembling just enough to sound coached. I needed space. And Logan was just there for me. And when did Logan move in with you and your daughter? My lawyer asked, flipping a page. She hesitated. A few weeks after the separation. But you emailed him 3 days before Jason left, saying, and I quote, I'm making space for you now. Lily's already on your side. Would you like me to show the court this email? Courtney's mouth opened, but no sound came out. That silence? That was my victory. The judge didn't give a full ruling that day, but he granted me temporary primary custody until the next hearing. Said Lily needed stability. Said further investigation was warranted. Translation. I was winning. Courtney stormed out of the courtroom. Logan followed her like a puppy that just got smacked for peeing on the carpet. I stayed behind. Sat down. Exhaled for the first time in months. And that's when my phone buzzed. A message. From an unknown number. You think you've won. You haven't seen what she's capable of. No name. No context. Just that. I stared at the screen, and for a second, my gut twisted. Was it from Logan? One of Courtney's friends? Someone else? But then I smiled. Because it didn't matter who sent it. Let them come. Let them try. I wasn't the same man who left that house with a duffel bag and a broken heart. I wasn't just a husband or an ex. I was a father, a fighter, a man who'd been betrayed and risen stronger. And if Courtney wanted to play dirty, she hadn't seen how dirty I could get.